Never really came to understanding the story.
But the first time I read the script, it was very hard for me to contain.
What was supposed to be Marvel's biggest comeback, the Fantastic Four reboot, has turned into one of Disney's most embarrassing failures yet. It flopped so bad, Disney had to pull the plug entirely. But what really forced them to cancel the movie? The actors themselves might have the answers. The implosion nobody saw coming. Disney didn't just mess up, they got humiliated. And this time, it wasn't by critics or even angry fans on Reddit. No, this time it was the very stars of the Fantastic Four reboot, yes, the actual cast, who pulled the emergency brake. In an industry-first meltdown that's sending shockwaves through Hollywood, Marvel's first family reportedly forced Disney's hand, demanding the entire project be scrapped after what insiders are calling the most demoralizing table read in MCU history. According to sources close to the production, the cast was so disillusioned by the studio's direction, the writing, and internal chaos that they collectively pushed back. The result? The entire film may be permanently shelved, despite Disney pouring tens of millions into development and pre-production. And the most shocking part? We have actual clips and leaked transcripts from a now-deleted roundtable, where one cast member accidentally spilled what really happened during that final meeting with executives. Stick around, because in just a few minutes, you'll see what they said, and why some are calling it the most humiliating moment in Marvel Studios' history. But let's rewind for a second. How did we get here? How did Disney, the undisputed king of global IP, fumble the return of one of Marvel's most iconic teams so badly that the very actors themselves demanded it be erased? This story doesn't begin with a casting mistake or a weak script, although we'll get to both. No, this disaster started years ago. Buried beneath a mountain of studio arrogance, fan fatigue, and corporate tunnel vision, Disney believed they could revive the Fantastic Four with their usual formula: plug in some high-profile actors, crank out some CGI, and sit back while the money rolls in. But this time, the formula backfired. Let's start with Pedro Pascal, the star Disney was banking on to carry this franchise. You know him as the Mandalorian. He's charismatic, he's got range, he's beloved online. He's also, allegedly, one of the main reasons the project imploded. At first, fans were thrilled when rumors started circulating that Pascal was cast as Reed Richards, aka Mr. Fantastic. The online reaction was cautiously optimistic, but optimism quickly turned to suspicion when conflicting reports emerged over scheduling conflicts. The Last of Us Season 2 was already in production. Pascal was in high demand. And then the truth came out. According to multiple sources, Disney knew from the start that Pascal's schedule was unworkable. He would be available for days, not months. Yet they cast him anyway, based solely on his marketability. One industry source put it bluntly, this wasn't about finding the right Reed Richards. This was about Instagram engagement. Worse? Pascal wasn't even in the room for chemistry tests. His scenes were to be filmed entirely separate from the rest of the cast, including Vanessa Kirby, Sue Storm, Joseph Quinn, Johnny Storm, and Eben Moss-Bachrach, Ben Grimm. Think about that. Disney was planning to launch the Fantastic Four, a team defined by their bond, without ever putting the actors together. And when the cast found out, that's when the resistance began. The decision to cast Pedro Pascal, knowing full well he could only shoot for a few weeks, triggered a domino effect. Production timelines had to be restructured, shooting sequences were jumbled, rewrites had to accommodate scenes without physical interactions between the leads. According to The Wrap, the studio even considered using AI-assisted voiceovers to smooth over potential gaps in dialogue. That's right, AI was going to finish Mr. Fantastic's lines. This wasn't just a creative compromise. This was a logistical nightmare disguised as a blockbuster, and no one was more aware of this than the actors themselves. Behind the scenes, frustration was boiling over. Leaked correspondence reportedly shows that Vanessa Kirby voiced concerns to her agent after the first major script revision in March, saying she felt like a plot device in someone else's franchise. Joseph Quinn, meanwhile, privately told friends that the production felt more like a marketing experiment than a movie. These whispers became roars by the time Schachman held the now infamous final script meeting. You have to understand, this was supposed to be Marvel's big redemption arc. After a year of flops and fan discontent, Fantastic Four was seen as a clean slate, a new team, a new tone, a second chance. But Disney, according to multiple insiders, doubled down on what wasn't working. The studio's mandate was clear: keep it in the multiverse and tie it to Secret Wars, no matter how many characters got sidelined in the process. Let's talk about those cameos for a second, because they weren't just a creative burden. They were a symptom of a deeper disease, the belief that nostalgia and legacy appearances can fix anything. Early drafts of the film allegedly featured a surprise appearance by John Krasinski's Reed Richards from Doctor Strange in the Multiverse of Madness, despite that version having already died. There was also an aged-up Franklin Richards, Reed and Sue's son from an alternate dimension, who's somehow already more powerful than 90% of the current MCU roster. And most bizarrely, a comedic variant of Galactus, voiced by Jack Jack Black in a deleted concept pitch, let that sink in. Instead of telling a compelling, character-driven origin story, Disney tried to reverse engineer a toy commercial with timelines, and they thought the actors wouldn't notice? One source close to the production told Screen Geek that the tone of the film felt like a Super Bowl ad stretched to 2 hours. Even crew members were reportedly confused about what kind of movie they were making. But perhaps the most damning example of Disney's arrogance came during a vision meeting with executives, which was meant to boost morale after weeks of creative tension. Instead of collaborating with the cast and director, the presentation was described by one insider as a slideshow of merchandise concepts and Disneyland ride integration ideas. Imagine being told the focus of your film isn't artistic merit or storytelling, but how well your character's face will sell in plush form at Disney Springs. That's the moment it became clear. Fantastic Four wasn't a reboot, it was a product. And that's when the cast reportedly decided to act. Vanessa Kirby, Joseph Quinn, and Eben Moss-Bachrach, along with Pascal's agent, allegedly convened off-site and agreed that if Marvel would not compromise, they would refuse to promote or support the film publicly. They would fulfill contractual obligations, but no press junkets, no Comic-Con appearances, and no social media tie-ins. This, we're told, was the final nail in the coffin. Marvel Studios, already bruised from Jonathan Majors' legal scandal and the underperformance of the Marvels, was not willing to risk another PR disaster. According to a report from The Hollywood Reporter, Bob Iger himself was briefed on the internal revolt. Within 2 weeks, the film's production window was frozen. The reaction from Disney's top brass? A panicked attempt to spin the delay as creative realignment. But by that point, the internet was already piecing it together. If you followed Marvel's recent slump, none of this should surprise you. The signs have been there for months. From the Ant-Man and the Wasp, Quantumania disaster, to the Secret Invasion backlash, fans are tired of studio-safe storytelling and poorly integrated cameos. Even director Matt Shakman, originally hyped as the guy who made WandaVision a hit, struggled to get control of the chaos. According to a Vulture report, the Fantastic Four script had undergone no fewer than 7 rewrites by the time of the final table read. Each version of the script leaned harder into multiverse cameos, legacy characters, and even a cameo from a CGI baby Thanos. We wish we were joking. At one point, rumors from credible leakers suggested the team wouldn't even be from Earth 616. Instead, they'd be from a dying alternate universe, making them essentially irrelevant to the larger MCU. When Joseph Quinn, best known for Stranger Things, saw the newest draft, he allegedly turned to Shakman and said, "How do we build chemistry if we're all green-screened in from different timelines?" That quote, while not captured on camera, was corroborated by 2 separate insiders who spoke under condition of anonymity to Hollywood Insider. The actors had signed on for a film about a family. What they got instead was an interdimensional ad for Avengers: Secret Wars. It didn't help that Disney's own financials were plummeting. According to Forbes, the studio has lost over $1 billion in projected box office revenue since Endgame. Morale is low, stockholders are nervous, and Bob Iger, he's trying to cut costs fast. So when the cast reportedly refused to promote the direction of the film and sent a joint letter to Marvel execs demanding a pause, Disney folded. The studio quietly pulled Fantastic Four from its internal release schedule. The announcement? There wasn't one. But sources noticed that the previously confirmed February 2026 slot suddenly disappeared from official press materials. This wasn't just a delay, this was a quiet funeral. Now here's where it gets worse. Remember the interview we teased at the beginning? The one where a cast member let something slip? Well, the cast member said, "We all knew this wasn't gonna work, man. But they didn't care. They just wanted faces on the poster." That was Eben Moss-Bachrach, Ben Grimm himself. He didn't realize his mic was still hot. He was responding to a question about working with Pascal. And just like that, the truth spilled out. They knew. From day one, they all knew. If this were any other franchise, it'd be a disaster. But for Marvel, this is DEFCON 1. The Fantastic Four are central to Marvel's future. Kevin Feige has gone on record multiple times saying they're the cornerstone of the next phase. Without them, the whole structure starts to wobble. So what does Disney do now? Do they recast, rewrite, pretend this never happened? Or is this the wake-up call they finally needed? One thing's for sure, the humiliation is real, and we haven't even gotten to the best part, including the exact moment Disney lost control of its creative identity, with receipts. You'll hear from former Marvel writers, ex-VFX artists, and even a Disney Plus executive who says the company's vision is more about brand synergy than storytelling. Oh, and you're going to want to see what Vanessa Kirby's team leaked to Deadline. It involves a letter, a lawsuit, and the term breach of creative integrity. the creative collapse inside Disney Marvel. If what you just heard revealed the first cracks in the dam, you're about to get to where the whole structure collapses. This isn't just about a scrapped movie. It's about how Marvel, once the most trusted name in blockbuster cinema, lost control of its own creative machine. It's about executives with spreadsheets overriding artists with vision. It's about Fantastic Four being the sacrificial lamb for a system that hasn't worked in years. And most damning of all, it's about how Disney ignored every single warning sign until their own talent revolted. Let's go back to January 2024. The cast was finalized. The hype machine was spinning. Pedro Pascal was officially announced. Vanessa Kirby, Joseph Quinn, and Eben Moss-Bachrach were unveiled shortly after. Marvel fans were cautiously hopeful. There was just so much care and love that was put into this family. Our hope is for that to translate into the movie. Casting really is a gamble. Who knows if we're going to get along? But behind the scenes, something was already wrong. The script at that point wasn't finished. According to two separate insiders cited by The Direct, Marvel was still hammering out the core plot even after the cast had signed on. Director Matt Shakman, who had once seemed enthusiastic in interviews, was now locked in endless meetings with Kevin Feige and Disney's upper brass, trying to figure out how to tie the Fantastic Four into Secret Wars, Kang Dynasty, and the broader multiverse saga without making the film feel like a 2-hour trailer. Because here's the problem. Disney didn't want a Fantastic Four story. They wanted a launchpad, a link in a bigger chain. And that approach? It's the exact reason fans are bailing. After Endgame, the MCU went from storytelling to spreadsheeting. Characters weren't just heroes, they were product nodes. Every film had to connect to 3 shows, introduce 5 cameos, hint at 2 future crossovers, and tease the next villain by name-dropping a cosmic rock. Remember when Iron Man was about one guy struggling with legacy and mortality? Now, we've got entire movies that feel like PowerPoint decks for future synergy. According to one Disney Plus executive who spoke anonymously with Puck News, there's no more room for standalone. Everything has to link to something else. It's like assembling IKEA furniture without a manual. And that mindset is what destroyed Fantastic Four. Writers were ordered to inject cameos, variant universes, Easter eggs referencing Loki, What If Quantumania, and even Fox's X-Men franchise. Concept art that leaked on Reddit, later confirmed by comicbookmovie.com, showed early versions of the team standing next to a bald Professor X, Patrick Stewart's version. Think about that. Before they'd written a single line of authentic dialogue between Reed and Sue, they were designing cameos, and when Matt Shakman tried to push back, sources close to the production say he was sidelined in favor of Kevin Feige's multiverse team. This team, composed of Marvel's in-house continuity managers, had final say over what could and couldn't happen on screen. That's when the writing team began bleeding talent. According to Variety, 2 screenwriters left the project due to what was called creative gridlock. One of them allegedly described the process as writing a movie with GPS directions shouted at you mid-sentence. Let's pause right there. Imagine being a writer for Marvel Studios, a dream job for any screenwriter, and being told exactly what the characters must say, what timeline they must reference, and what universe they must be from, before you're even allowed to explore basic human themes like trust, love, or betrayal. No wonder actors walked out. Because by the time the script had been rewritten again, the story had morphed into this. First, the Fantastic Four are from an alternate dimension. Then they escape to Earth 616 during a multiversal collapse. Also, the villain isn't Doctor Doom. It's a Kang variant using Galactus as a pawn. And instead of building a family, they're immediately recruited by a secret multiverse council featuring Mobius, Owen Wilson, Loki, and a variant of Deadpool. What even is that? It's not a movie. It's a Wikipedia entry, and the cast knew it. According to leaks published by Cosmic Circus, Vanessa Kirby pushed back hard against being shoehorned into an ensemble of characters from other properties. She signed on to play Sue Storm, not the multiverse's glorified event planner. Things escalated in April 2024 when Disney reportedly mandated last-minute rewrites to increase Deadpool and Wolverine references due to early buzz around Deadpool and Wolverine. One insider told Fandom Wire, they literally rewrote entire acts to shoehorn in dialogue that mentions Wade and Logan. And this brings us to the final fracture. In May, Vanessa Kirby's representation, according to a leaked legal notice obtained by Deadline, allegedly sent a formal letter to Disney accusing them of a breach of creative integrity. While not an official legal filing, the document reportedly warned that the actress would not participate in press promotion unless major creative revisions were made. The phrase used? The character of Sue Storm has been reduced to a reactive accessory in service of franchise connectivity. And guess what? Joseph Quinn and Eben Moss-Bachrach co-signed the letter. This wasn't just talent pushing back. This was an artistic mutiny, and Marvel's executives panicked. But let's be very clear here. This collapse didn't happen in isolation. This is part of a pattern. The chaos on Secret Invasion, which burned through $200 million and 3 showrunners. The debacle with Ant-Man 3, where even VFX artists went public about Marvel's broken pipeline, Gizmodo. The constant churn of writers, directors, and crew members, none of whom are given time to tell a complete story. Fantastic Four is just the latest casualty in a system that prioritizes connectivity over creativity. And it's not sustainable. Marvel fans aren't leaving because they're tired of superheroes. They're leaving because they no longer believe in the illusion of quality. Once the MCU stood for something. Now, it's just noise. And if Disney doesn't listen to this wake-up call, they may lose more than just a movie. They may lose the very foundation of their empire. Next, we expose how Disney is planning to reboot the reboot without announcing it. We'll show you new internal casting memos, a radical timeline shift, and the real reason Doctor Doom was erased from the original script. Plus, we'll show the strange, almost surreal marketing plan that was developed before a single scene was shot, Disney's quiet reboot, and the cover-up. So far, we've exposed the internal collapse of Fantastic Four, the revolt of its cast, and how Disney's creative dysfunction detonated a billion-dollar property. But here is where things get disturbing. Because not only is Disney pretending this disaster never happened, they're secretly rebooting the reboot, and they're doing it without telling anyone. Let's start with a bombshell development from June 2024. According to an exclusive from Murphy's Multiverse, a new round of casting calls went out under the codename Project Galileo, a Marvel Studios designation for an alternate reality family saga with light sci-fi elements. At first, this seemed like a separate project, but insiders noticed something odd. The character breakdowns matched exactly with Reed Richards, Sue Storm, Johnny Storm, and Ben Grimm, only the names were changed. Even more suspicious? Each casting breakdown included the phrase, "must be comfortable with green screen and solo performance with virtual characters." Sound familiar? That's the exact issue the previous cast walked away from. Marvel wasn't solving the problem, they were rewrapping it. What's happening here is unprecedented. Instead of publicly acknowledging that Fantastic Four failed, Disney is trying to stealth reboot the film under a new codename with a fresh cast, and likely, a radically different release strategy. But it gets even more bizarre. According to leaked production memos, the rebooted version is now set entirely in a different timeline, permanently separate from Earth 616. That means no Avengers cameos, no multiverse councils, no Kang references. It's Marvel trying to have it both ways. Stay inside the brand, but avoid the mess they made. One former Marvel Studios staffer described the approach as preemptive brand laundering. But the deception doesn't stop there. Disney hasn't just changed the cast. They've erased one of the most iconic characters in comic history from the project altogether. Dr. Doom. Let's talk about that for a second. In the early days of Fantastic Four development, Doom was considered essential. Phage himself said in 2022 that Doom would be a pillar of the next Marvel saga. But by late 2023, internal reports and script leaks showed that Doom had been quietly phased out in favor of, wait for it, another Kang variant. Even after Jonathan Majors' legal controversies and exit from the MCU, Marvel clung to Kang as their central spine. According to The Hollywood Reporter, executives were hesitant to pivot away from Kang because of how much merchandise and promotional development had already been invested. You read that right. They kept Kang, not because it served the story, but because of the toys. Dr. Doom, arguably the greatest villain in Marvel history, was sidelined so that Bob Iger's Q2 numbers wouldn't take a hit on pre-sold merchandise. This is the root rot. Marvel isn't making movies anymore. They're building theme park extensions, merch pipelines, and content blocks for quarterly earnings reports. And the cast? They saw through it. In fact, one Disney insider speaking to Business Insider revealed that Vanessa Kirby and Joseph Quinn were specifically promised a Doom-centric storyline during their contract negotiations. When the villain was written out, that promise was broken, fueling the very legal threats we explored in Part 2. But here's where it gets even more surreal. Despite the film never being shot, Disney greenlit a full-scale marketing rollout months before the actors staged their walkout. According to internal leaks posted by MCU Status on Twitter, and later verified by Collider, Marvel had planned a McDonald's cross-promotion featuring Reed's Space Shape, a sneaker drop from Adidas branded around the Human Torch, and a Disneyland interactive experience scheduled to launch before the movie came out. Yes, you heard that right. Disney was selling attractions for a movie that hadn't even been filmed. It's the kind of overreach that only happens when a company is too big to notice its own cracks. They assumed the movie would happen. They assumed the actors would comply. They assumed fans wouldn't care about quality, just the logo on the screen. And now, they're in full cover-up mode. No official cancellation, no public apology, just a digital erasure of release dates, silent project renaming, and PR-approved statements about creative evolution. Meanwhile, die-hard Marvel fans are left in the dark, forced to piece together leaks and rumors, wondering if the characters they love are even coming at all. And here's the scariest part. If Disney pulls this reboot off without owning up to what happened, they'll learn nothing. They'll keep making content without story. They'll keep hiring stars without giving them substance. They'll keep replacing vision with synergy. Fantastic Four deserved better. The actors deserved better, and the fans deserved the truth. Instead, we got marketing plans without movies, slogans without scripts, and reboots without reason. As of July 2025, Disney still hasn't confirmed whether Fantastic Four is canceled, delayed, or rebooted, but the evidence is overwhelming. The cast walked, the story collapsed, and the studio quietly hit CTRL+Z on the entire thing. That's not just a bad movie, that's a humiliation. And unless Disney finally listens, really listens to fans and creatives alike, they may find that it's not just one project slipping through their fingers, it's their entire empire.
Oh, now they will. The greatest thing that could ever have happened to Marvel was having Disney buy us.
At first, the creators of Marvel's legendary characters seemed thrilled about the merger with Disney. It felt like a dream come true. But over time, that excitement faded. Now, the tone has completely shifted.
Hi, heroes. This is Stan Lee coming at you. Want you to know, Marvel has always been and always will be a reflection of the world.
The very people who gave life to these heroes are speaking out, sending a loud and clear message. Disrespect will not be tolerated. So what went wrong between Marvel's creators and the House of Mouse? The message that changed everything. Imagine if the most powerful entertainment corporation in the world was finally forced to face its own moral reckoning. It's May 2025, and what started as a grassroots rebellion by grieving families has grown into a movement that's reshaping the entire entertainment industry. These weren't just legal victories, they were declarations of independence from corporate tyranny. The thunderclap moment came when they stood up and said, "Enough!" Every major studio executive in Hollywood felt it. The creator families, armed with nothing but determination and the Copyright Act of 1976, had managed to make Disney, yes, the same Disney that owns ABC, ESPN, and controls almost 40% of the box office market blink. This wasn't David versus Goliath anymore. This was David assembling his own Avengers team.
It's a marriage made in heaven, and with all the power of Disney behind us, well, you see the results. You see movies like The Avengers, Iron Man, they're all tremendous hits.
So it was the luckiest thing in the world that Disney bought Marvel. The settlements of 2023 weren't just legal documents. They were surrender papers from a corporate empire that had finally been forced to acknowledge its creative foundation. When Steve Ditko's estate settled in December 2023 and the other creator estates in June 2023, they didn't just win money. They won something infinitely more valuable, the power to redefine what respect means in the entertainment industry. Let's be crystal clear about what happened here. For decades, Disney operated under a simple principle. We own what we buy, and what we own, we control absolutely. The idea that creators or their families might have ongoing rights was treated as a quaint notion from a bygone era. But these families, these real-life Avengers, proved that the principle was built on quicksand.
Kid, I'm Mickey Mouse. I can do whatever the hell I want.
Won't people think that's a lazy and desperate nostalgia-milking cash grab?
They'll think whatever I tell them to think. Want to be Dr. Doom?
Dr. Doom?
Hey, is there an echo in here or something? Yeah, Dr. Doom. I'll give you your own Avengers film. Hell, I'll even give you two.
This chilling portrayal of corporate arrogance in our source material perfectly captures the mentality that these families successfully challenged. What makes this transformation truly revolutionary is its timing. The Marvel Cinematic Universe has generated over $22.93 billion in box office revenue alone. These aren't just numbers on a spreadsheet. They represent the value of creative ideas that were once compensated at $20 per page. Imagine creating Iron Man and being told your contribution revolution was worth the same as a pizza order in 1963. The psychological warfare these families endured was immense. Disney's strategy was obvious. Make it so painful, so expensive, so time-consuming to fight that surrender becomes preferable to justice. But they misunderstood something fundamental about creative families. These aren't venture capitalists motivated purely by profit. These are people fighting for their parents, grandparents' legacies. When Marvel sued the heirs using the work-for-hire argument, they essentially claimed that creativity has no ongoing value, that the act of imagination, of birthing cultural icons from nothing, was worth only the initial paycheck. The family's message in response was clear. Our parents created mythos that define modern culture. Their value extends far beyond what corporate America decided to pay them in the 1960s. The ripple effects are already transforming the industry landscape. Warner Brothers, seeing the writing on the wall, has reportedly begun proactive outreach to DC creator estates. Sony, facing its own Spider-Man rights challenges, is reconsidering how it treats creative legacies. Even Universal, which clutches its partial Hulk rights like a security blanket, knows that respect is now a business necessity, not a corporate nicety. The true power of this victory lies in what it symbolizes. These families essentially forced Disney to acknowledge that financial success must be shared with those who planted the seeds of that success. It's a principle that extends far beyond entertainment. In tech, in fashion, in any industry where creativity drives profit, the message is the same: respect the creator or face the consequences. Disney attempted to create a monopoly on pop culture mythology, only to be reminded that mythology belongs to the mythmakers first. What the creator families achieved goes beyond individual compensation. They've created a template for artistic justice in the corporate age. Every future creator entering Hollywood now knows they have ammunition if their legacy is disrespected. Every corporation knows that the cost of dishonoring creators' families has now been demonstrated in public, expensive litigation. The emotional impact cannot be overstated. These are children watching their parents' life work transformed into global phenomena. While being treated as legal obstacles to profit, the settlements represent more than financial resolution. They represent emotional justice for families who've carried the weight of feeling invisible in plain sight. For Marvel fans specifically, there's now a deeper emotional connection to every character on screen. Knowing that these characters' creators' families fought for recognition adds gravitas to every appearance of Iron Man, Spider-Man, or Doctor Strange. These aren't just CGI spectacles. They're the visual manifestations of a real-world battle for creative respect. The transformation in corporate culture doesn't stop at Disney's doorstep. The entire entertainment ecosystem is recalibrating. Streaming services are reconsidering creator contracts. Production companies are building more ethical frameworks. Even theme parks are examining how they honor the artists behind their attractions. The message has been received industry-wide. As new Marvel projects continue production, each carries the DNA of this struggle. Robert Downey Jr. returning as Dr. Doom isn't just a casting decision. It's happening in a world where creator families now have a seat at the table. The power dynamics have shifted irrevocably. The ultimate irony is that by forcing Disney to respect its creative foundation, these families may have actually saved the Marvel brand's soul. Characters have deeper meaning when their creation stories include dignity and recognition. Audiences connect more powerfully when they know the architects of their myths are honored. Looking ahead, the industry faces a new paradigm. The creator families have proven that the little guy can win, that corporate giants can be held accountable, that creative justice is possible. They've transformed the entertainment industry's moral compass, one settlement at a time. This victory resonates beyond Hollywood. Every worker who's ever felt undervalued, every family that's fought for recognition, every artist who's wondered about their legacy, they all see themselves in these Marvel creator families. It's a universal story of standing up for human dignity in the face of corporate indifference. The message is clear and unmistakable. Respect is not negotiable. Creativity has eternal value, and families will fight for justice even against the most powerful corporations on Earth. The Avengers may save the world on screen, but their creators' families have saved something equally precious: the soul of artistic collaboration. This war between the Avengers and Disney isn't new. It's just the latest round in a silent battle that's been raging behind the scenes for years. The legal war behind closed doors. The battleground was set long before the public knew war had been declared. It's 2021. The MCU is riding high on Endgame's success. Disney executives are counting their billions. But in the shadows, copyright termination notices are being filed like grenades thrown into Disney's legal department. The countdown to corporate reckoning has begun, and nobody at Disney is prepared for what's coming. These weren't random families looking for a payday. These were the estates of Marvel's foundational architects, armed with a powerful weapon: the U.S. Copyright Act. The law that says after 35 years, creators can reclaim their work from corporate hands. Disney's response was swift and brutal preemptive lawsuits that screamed, "How dare you challenge our absolute ownership?" Let's talk about what really happened behind those mahogany doors. Steve Ditko, co-creator of Spider-Man and Doctor Strange; Don Heck, the artistic genius behind Iron Man and Black Widow; Gene Colan, who gave us Captain Marvel and Falcon. These names weren't just credits on old comics. They were the architects of what would become a $22 billion movie franchise. Yet Disney's legal strategy treated them like common thieves trying to steal Disney property. The psychological warfare was textbook corporate intimidation. Disney, with its virtually unlimited legal budget, structured its lawsuits to drain the estate's resources. They knew most families couldn't survive a protracted battle, but they miscalculated spectacularly. The legal arguments Disney employed were masterfully cynical. The work-for-hire doctrine was wielded like a blunt instrument. Their position: if you were paid a day rate in 1963, you forfeit all future rights forever. Period. No discussion, no acknowledgement that your creation would become worth billions. Just a cold, corporate, "we paid you what we agreed." But here's what the lawsuits really revealed about Disney's corporate philosophy. In internal documents that came to light, the company's position was that these were annoyances to be eliminated through legal pressure, not creative partners to be respected, not foundation layers of their empire. Annoyances. That word alone cost Disney millions in public relations damage. The estates banded together in what became known as the Creator Coalition. They shared resources, coordinated legal strategies, and most importantly, shared emotional support. While Disney's lawyers processed these challenges as legal puzzles to solve, these families were fighting for their loved ones' legacies. The emotional stakes couldn't have been more asymmetrical. Consider the specific characters at stake. Iron Man had grossed over $8 billion in box office revenue alone. Spider-Man, with Tom Holland's portrayals, added another $6 billion to Disney's coffers, even with Sony's share. Black Widow, Hawkeye, Falcon, each represents hundreds of millions in revenue streams. Yet the families who created these icons had to fight tooth and nail just to be recognized as more than hired hands from the 1960s. The first settlement came in June 2023. Larry Lieber and the estates of Don Heck, Gene Colan, and Don Rico reached agreements with Marvel. The terms were sealed, but industry insiders suggest Disney finally realized that the cost of continued litigation exceeded the cost of fair compensation. The message was sent: challenge us, and you might just win. Steve Ditko's estate held out longer. The Spider-Man co-creators' representatives knew they held the strongest hand. Spider-Man wasn't just another character. He was Marvel's crown jewel, especially after the Sony partnership. The psychological pressure from Disney intensified, but Ditko's estate had learned from watching DC's treatment of Superman's creators. They refused to blink. The final settlement came in December 2023. Terms undisclosed, but the joint filing mentioned amicable resolution, corporate speak for "we paid what they demanded to make this go away." Disney had been forced into a corner: continue fighting and risk setting legal precedent that could affect their entire catalog, or settle quietly and maintain the illusion of absolute control. Behind the scenes, industry lawyers report that Disney's legal teams were rattled. For decades, they'd operated under the assumption that their contracts were bulletproof. The creator lawsuits exposed vulnerabilities in a legal framework built on 1960 S-era understanding of intellectual property. The corporate machinery designed to crush opposition had encountered something it couldn't defeat: generational determination. The parallel legal battle with InterDigital Inc. over patent infringement in Marvel films demonstrates Disney's broader legal challenges. When multiple fronts open simultaneously, even Disney's vast resources become strained. The creator families were part of a larger pattern. Disney's aggressive business model was making enemies faster than it could eliminate them. What these lawsuits really uncovered was the human cost of corporate indifference. Legal documents detailed how creators worked in tiny apartments while Disney executives lived in mansions, how sketches worth billions were sold for grocery money, how the architects of modern mythology died without seeing their creation's true value. The settlements created a new legal framework for the industry. Entertainment lawyers report unprecedented interest in creator-friendly contracts following the Marvel resolutions. Studios are preemptively renegotiating old deals to avoid future lawsuits. The creator estates set a precedent that will echo through entertainment law for decades. Disney's attempt to paint these lawsuits as greedy families seeking undeserved riches backfired spectacularly. Public sentiment sided overwhelmingly with the creators' heirs. Social media campaigns highlighted the stark contrast between corporate profits and creator compensation. The narrative Disney tried to control slipped through their fingers like sand. The legal war revealed something fundamental about modern entertainment economics. The line between creator and corporation wasn't meant to be a chasm. These lawsuits forced acknowledgement that creative collaborations require ongoing respect, not just initial payment. Disney's resistance to this principle cost them far more than proactive fairness would have. As litigation dragged on, internal Disney documents suggested growing concern about brand damage. StarSnitch, the company that built its empire on family values, was publicly fighting the families of their creative foundations. The irony wasn't lost on the public. Every Spider-Man ticket sold came with questions about whether his creator's family was being fairly treated. The settlements represent more than legal resolution. They mark a turning point in corporate America's relationship with creative labor. If entertainment giants can be forced to respect creator legacies, what about tech innovators, fashion designers, software developers? The precedent stretches beyond Hollywood's borders. For the creator families, the legal journey was both vindication and ordeal. Years of stress, uncertainty, and public scrutiny took their toll, but they emerged victorious, having proven that David can indeed defeat Goliath when armed with justice and determination. Their message to future creators and heirs: your rights are worth fighting for, no matter how powerful the opposition. The closed-door negotiations that preceded the final settlements reportedly involved emotional appeals, not just financial discussions. Disney executives, perhaps for the first time, had to hear directly from families about what their loved ones' creations meant. The corporate machine was forced to confront the human hearts beating behind the balance sheets, the puppet strings of corporate control. Behind every Marvel movie, every Disney Plus series, every theme park attraction lies a shadowy world of corporate manipulation that would make any supervillain proud. The creator battles weren't isolated incidents. They were windows into a systematic approach to creative control that has redefined what it means to own art in the modern age. Welcome to Disney's real magic kingdom, where creativity is commoditized and artists become assets on a balance sheet. Let's expose the machinery. When Disney acquired Marvel in 2009, they weren't just buying characters. They were establishing a template for corporate content control that would reshape the entertainment industry. The VidAngel case from 2016 reveals this strategy perfectly. A small family-friendly streaming service trying to offer filtering technology gets crushed with a $62 million lawsuit. The message: innovation is only allowed when Disney controls it. The beauty of Disney's control mechanism lies in its multi-layered approach. First, buy the company outright. Then use legal warfare to establish dominance. Finally, reshape market expectations to their advantage. The creator families found themselves caught in this exact machinery, fighting not just for compensation, but for the very concept of creator autonomy.
I'd never heard that pretty little face. Do you moisturize?
Sometimes.
You bet your sweet ass you moisturize. There's probably all kinds of moisture on that face.
Thank you.
Gosh, Mr. Stark, you're real handsome. Shut your goddamn mouth, goofy!
This chilling exchange captures the psychological manipulation at the heart of corporate control, maintaining a friendly facade while wielding absolute power. The 2019 Fox acquisition showcases this strategy at scale. Disney didn't just buy Fox for X-Men and Fantastic Four rights. They eliminated a competitor that might have challenged their narrative control. Even the Department of Justice recognized the antitrust implications. When government regulators feel compelled to intervene, you know the power concentration has reached critical mass. But control isn't just about acquisition. It's about redefining value. Disney masterfully convinced the industry that characters created for $20 per page in 1963 had no ongoing value to their creators. That billion-dollar franchises built on these foundations owed nothing to the architects. It's economic gaslighting at corporate scale. The 2023 antitrust claims regarding streaming services expose another control mechanism. Disney wasn't content with owning content. They needed to control distribution channels. When consumers filed lawsuits alleging onerous contracts that stifled competition, U.S. District Judge Edward Davila validated these concerns. The pattern is clear. Total vertical integration equals total control. Consider the psychological warfare employed against creator families. Disney's strategy wasn't just legal. It was designed to exhaust and demoralize. By treating creative families as legal annoyances rather than valued partners, they signaled a corporate philosophy where control trumps respect. The message to future creators: your work has value, but you don't. The Redbox dispute from 2012 provides another illuminating example. Disney accused a DVD rental company of unfair competition, essentially claiming that even secondary distribution challenged their control. The pattern repeats. Any business model not controlled by Disney becomes a target for elimination. What's particularly insidious about this control mechanism is its self-perpetuating nature. By buying critics, influencing media coverage, and shaping industry narratives, Disney creates an environment where challenging their control seems futile. They've convinced many that this level of corporate power is not just normal, but necessary for entertainment production.
Good work out there today, team.
Hulk smash criminals.
Shame about all those apartment blocks, though.
Hulk was preventing future crime.
This dialogue perfectly encapsulates corporate doublespeak. We're heroes for eliminating competition before it threatens us. The creator settlements forced a crack in this control apparatus. For the first time, individual artists' families proved they could challenge the machine and win. This wasn't just about money. It was about breaking the psychological hold that absolute corporate control had established over creative industries. Internal documents revealed during litigation exposed Disney's true philosophy. References to creators as contracted workers rather than creative partners showed how thoroughly dehumanized the creative process had become. Artists weren't collaborators in building mythologies. They were temporary employees whose relevance ended with their paychecks. The corporate control extends beyond just financial considerations. Disney has effectively created a mythological monopoly. By controlling both Marvel and potentially DC, had the Warner Brothers deal succeeded, they would have owned the modern American pantheon. These aren't just movie franchises. They're cultural touchstones that shape generational values and understanding. The settlements revealed another layer of control: information manipulation. When terms remained undisclosed and described as amicable, Disney maintained its preferred narrative while likely paying substantial sums behind closed doors. They control not just the content, but the story of the content's creation and ownership. What makes this control mechanism particularly dangerous is its invisibility to casual observers. Audiences see beloved characters and don't question the power structures behind them. The creator lawsuits pulled back the curtain on an industry where corporate control had calcified into creative tyranny. The ripple effects of challenging this control extend beyond entertainment. When creator families proved that corporate power could be questioned and changed, they inspired similar challenges across industries. The message resonated: no corporation, regardless of size or power, is above accountability to the human beings whose creativity fuels their empires. Disney's attempt to paint these legal challenges as threats to the entertainment industry's economic model backfired spectacularly. Instead, it exposed how that model relied on creative exploitation dressed up as business necessity. The settlements forced acknowledgement that sustainable success requires respecting, not erasing, creative origins. The control apparatus Disney built was designed to be impenetrable. Contracts so complex they intimidated challenge. Legal resources so vast they outmatched opposition. PR machinery so powerful it shaped public perception. Yet the creator families found the weak point: the court of public opinion and the principle of creative justice. Disney used to control creative output. We see a cautionary tale about corporate power in the creative industries. The settlements don't just represent legal victories. They represent the beginning of a recalibration where control shifts from absolute corporate power to balanced creative partnerships. Future creators and their families now understand that these strings can be cut, that the puppet can fight back. Disney's empire isn't built on contracts alone. It's built on creative minds that deserve recognition beyond their initial compensation. The creator battles proved that even Disney's sophisticated control system has vulnerabilities when faced with determined opposition and public scrutiny. In the end, the war between the Avengers and Disney wasn't just a legal battle. It was a powerful stand against a system that often treats creativity like a commodity. For years, Disney built its empire on the backs of beloved characters, unforgettable stories, and the brilliance of the people behind them. But when those same people asked for fairness, for recognition, for a piece of what they helped build, they were met with silence, red tape, and closed doors. What started as private negotiations turned into a public reckoning. The Avengers, both on screen and behind the scenes, became symbols of resistance, not to storytelling, but to the corporate machine that tried to control it. Families of creators, lawyers, and even actors stepped up, not just for money, but for legacy, for the right to say, this was ours too. And now, the ripple effects are impossible to ignore. Disney, once seen as untouchable, has had to face real questions about ownership, ethics, and the future of entertainment. Will this lead to a new era where creators have more power? Or will the mouse behind the curtain find new ways to tighten its grip? Only time will tell. But one thing's for sure. The Avengers may have saved the universe on screen, but off-screen, they just might have saved the soul of Hollywood. What are your thoughts on the Avengers taking a stand against Disney? Drop your thoughts in the comments, and if you want more untold truths from behind the scenes, click on the cards on screen now.